Our story begins at the heart of the spiral, in a colorful, whimsical metropolis bearing the name Wizard City. In Wizard City, the Ravenwood School of Magical Arts draws the powerful, the curious, and the gifted to their classrooms to learn the ancient and respected art of magic. Among the many witches and wizards who roam the streets and attend the academy is Duncan Winter, a 13-year-old taken from a faraway land of Earth. Brought along to the school by a sudden twist of fate, and thrusting into their destiny to save the city from the roaming souls of the undead by Merle Ambrose, the principal. Thrown carelessly into combat, Duncan proved to be rather a student, but he wasn't the only one. Shortly after being set upon his epic quest, he was greeted by another wizard, Bryn Wildheart, a second kidnapped 12-year-old from Earth. Together, they met their professors, with Duncan choosing the sturdy class of ice, and Bryn picking the gentle, caring life. Both playing to their apparent strengths, according to the tests they'd been given early on. While Bryn came from an orphanage and Duncan was unwittingly a clone, they quickly ran into another teammate, Siri Lionheart, a 13-year-old wizard caught up in her thieving pirate ways by the sergeant. Together, they first stepped into Cyclops Lane to defeat the treacherous General Achilles, acting like a machine, if it had been left in the rain for 60 years. Together, one wanting his memories, another wanting the safety of folk, and the last just trying to avoid jail time, they met their newest member, Rosalind Wormsong, a Ravenwood student. Now a force to be reckoned with, the thaumaturge, theurgist, conjurer, and divider swiftly defeated their second unworldly leader, the Harvest Lord. Rattlebones had been the first. However, when faced with wandering across the city, it appeared some were fitter than others. Rosalind herself was grounded by her father and forbidden to go on any more wild adventures. It was around this point as well when Siri discovered what being knocked out felt like.
Please fizzle.
I don't want to, but I guess I don't have a choice, do I?
Siri? Siri?
Oh, really?
Siri? Duncan, she's not answering.
Who's not answering?
Siri, she's not answering anymore.
Wonder what happened to her.
Now fully aware of the dangers, the trio would not separate by force or by will. It would take all three of them to ensure their survival, even if Bastilla Greywind was a pushover. After they'd collected the Banshee's wail, the trio moved on to thrack down Alkane Swiftarrow so that his mediocre singing might be used to cure his people. Duncan gained early access to Colossus Boulevard and swiftly obtained a critical spell for his journey later on, his Ice Prism. At the same time, Bryn was given a slightly harder task that had thankfully granted her, upon repairing the clockwork, her Nature's Wrath. Tasked with preparing yet another piece of Triton Avenue, the trio took a deep breath and dove beneath the waves. Finding much more powerful enemies, it was next Bryn to be struck down and dragged from the fight by Duncan, as a furious Siri sought revenge.
Right.
You're serious? Uh-oh.
No. Come on.
Oh no.
No. Bren? Bren! Shit.
Taking her own justice, Bran would be the one to strike down the false king Amadeus. In a similar style, she would also lay the last hit upon a stranger foe, the Spectre Foulgaze, aiding their greatest enemy, Malleus Stare, on the hunt for the Order of the Fang. Once the trio was ready to deal with yet another issue, this time on Colossus Boulevard, which was beginning to convince them the city guard were incompetent, Principal Ambrose saw fit to send them a replacement for their lost Rosalind, a 13-year-old wizard refugee from Azteca named Blaze Dreamer. Surprisingly, their new teammate was strong, even if not all that bright on certain things in magic. He was the one to beat Prince Gobblestone into submission, so they might question King Gobblestone. After somehow making peace with the creatures devouring the city, the crew spotted the distress of Renee Woofton and set out in the sewers for Doug, a maintenance worker. After accidentally assaulting several sanitation worker beetles and flies, they were pointed to Doug, needing saving from the ghost of a tree minder. On their way to the haunted cave, on the trail of Malleus Stare, someone caught Duncan's eye. After a long chase, the children were kidnapped to a strange haunted home, only to spot another Duncan, who they quickly chased into a strange ticket booth. Caught up in the haunted Albion play, The Tragedy of Macbeth, to gain freedom from this cunning trap, the crew was forced to strike down the Phantom of Macbeth himself. Getting back on track, the team sought out Lord Nightshade, burning him until he told them where he had placed Malleus Stare and the entire Death School into Nightside. After discovering the enemy there and him escaping them just in the nick of time, they paused to help Marla Stinger in the most extreme way possible, finding the supposed mythical undead grub, all to stick it to Cyrus Drake. With that, our heroes gear up for the next step, Crocotopia.